This is a hardcore randomized Nuzlocke, and here is me taking on the only non-absentee father in the Pokemon universe at the Petalburg gym. As you can see, he relies on tough love. Join me as I take on the Hoenn region. Okay, so we start this game right, completely normally, in the back of a moving truck with the furniture, not in the passenger seat, not even a cool trailer situation, just in the back with a wardrobe. Thanks, Mum. We hear some screaming in the distance, and you know what that means? Choose your start time, and look at this for a randomizer. We get Makihita, Shelgon, or Rayquaza. There's only one choice here, isn't there? But it turns out, Professor Birch was getting chased by a Togepi. The thing was probably just looking for a hug. But here comes a Rayquaza against an egg. You know how this is going to go. The thing gets blown away. It doesn't even get turned into an omelette. So anyway, after saving the professor from the hellish egg, he invites us back to his lab and rewards us by letting us keep the god of the sky, I believe is what Rayquaza is. We're going to take that, and I know in the last few games I've called my Gyarados Shenron, but let's be honest, this thing is a green dragon, it's the only appropriate name for it. So here we are, for a third time, here's Shenron, but it's actually Shenron this time. Birch tells us to go see his daughter May, so we do that. She's just hanging around in some long grass doing whatever she's doing. And here's the fun thing about randomizers. I get the god of the sky, May gets a sumo wrestler. That's just the way it goes. So luckily for us, we were on the better end of that, although it would have probably been a bit more interesting had she have got the Shelgon. This one's a nice easy one, 1-0 against May. We head back to the lab. This is where the fun begins. Birch gives us a Pokedex, and May gives us 5 Pokeballs, which means it's time to start catching things, which is always the best part of a Pokemon game, which is why until I started this channel, I had never done a Nuzlocke, because I just like catching as many Pokemon as possible. But I digress. Let's get into the actual game. First up, we get a Loudred named Dolby, who is then joined on the team by Jet Li the Combusken and Khaleesi the Curlier. Those 3 catchers lead us to go see Dad in the Petalburg gym, and we get rudely interrupted by this weird kid, so we have to go help him catch a Ralts. And with the Ralts successfully caught, interestingly enough, the randomizer kept it as a Ralts. We get thanked by the kid and we head back to Dad, who basically tells us the princess is in another gym, so we leave and head on our way before getting interrupted by what I can only assume is a stalker because he keeps showing up throughout the game. Our amazing catch luck continues with Samurai the Sceptile. Petalburg Woods sees us reunited with Manny the Swinub from the previous game, and before Rosborough Gym we had time for one more catch with Vulcan the Blastoise. So here it is, our first gym fight of the run, and one thing you will notice straight away is gym leaders have 6 Pokemon now, which is only fair to give us a little bit more of a challenge. And Roxanne leads with a Slugma, so no longer a rock gym either. But this one is a fairly easy decision to switch into Vulcan, who will just one-shot the Slugma. And with one Pokemon down, it's time for another switch because I am not leaving a Blastoise in against an Electric at low levels. So here comes Manny the Swinub with his ground typing to negate any electric type attacks. He doesn't have much in the attacking sense, so we just go with a Powder Snow, which does decent damage and should be a 3-shot kill. Well, it would have been at least if Roxanne hadn't have used a potion. I'm not allowed to use healing items, so gym leaders shouldn't be able to use them either, but unfortunately that is not an option in the randomizer program. With Electric down, we now see a Porygon, so definitely not a Rock-type gym anymore. So we switch to Shenron, who is the most powerful Pokemon we have, and is probably going to have the easiest time at dealing with this Porygon. critical hit ancient power is one way to do it. It's just a shame we didn't get the boost off the back of it either. But here is a Jinx now, so it's definitely time to switch out because we are not losing a Rayquaza to a Jinx. So here comes Jet Li. This lovely kiss from Jinx is not what we wanted to see. Hopefully Jet Li isn't asleep and we can get this caricature of a Pokemon out of the way with an Ember. And this Ember does surprisingly little damage for super effective, but I guess Jet Li is more on the physical side of things, not special, which doesn't help the situation. And with Jet Li being critically low on health, we switch out to Khaleesi because Jinx is low on health, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But it ends up being the first loss of the run for us, which is not a great start, to be honest with you, in the first gym being one Pokemon down. In the other games, it's taken us a couple of gyms to get to this situation. So as you'll see throughout the run, when we get in situations like this, we will make a wish to Shenron. I do try and not overuse him throughout this run, but he does see quite a bit of playtime. And that's Jinx out of the way. Good job too, because with that getting rid of one of our Pokemon, we are not particularly pleased with it. 2 Pokemon left now for Roxanne. The Ferret shouldn't be too much of an issue. And that's Ferret gone, and Roxanne's last Pokemon is also not too much of a problem because, as you can see, it is a Spinder. So we keep with Shenron, who just twists the teddy bear out of existence. And there we have it, Spinder down, first gym badge acquired, 1 badge, 1 death. That is not the ratio I want to keep going throughout the rest of this playthrough, to be completely honest with you. We place Kecleon in what is currently our empty graveyard. Before it's time to start doing some quests, we see the Devon Goods guy again. This man has his Wingull stolen, and in the cave we catch Bouquet the Bulbasaur, our starter from Fire Red, is back. Of course the culprits are Team Aqua, so we beat them down, retrieve the Devon Goods and rescue this guy's Wingull, and he seems incredibly happy about that, and he will come in handy because he does give us a lift on his boat. We return the Devon Goods, which I guess will stop this guy from getting fired, and as a reward he invites us to go see the CEO, Mr. Stone, who thinks an appropriate reward is to send us on a fetch quest to deliver a letter to a man we have never seen before, and he gives us no description, so I don't know how we are actually meant to do this. And as we leave Rustborough to catch the ferry to go see Mr. Briny and get a lift, we run into May, who of course wants to have a battle, and she has also now gained 6 Pokemon and will have it for the rest of the run. Luckily for us, it's a Linoon that she leads with. And we've got Shenron at the front of the party, who just Ancient Powers, and I do use Ancient Power a lot to try and get the boost. Next up for me is a Trico, which means one thing. We switch out to Jet Li and get a massive type advantage here. And that's what we like to see from our extra hot chicken, a one-shot Ember. So let's see what May has next for us. A Kinglet, so obviously a switch out, which we go to Samurai, once again giving us a type advantage. Having 3 starters in the team this early is a really good thing when it comes to getting appropriate type advantages. A nice easy 2-shot with Absorb, which is a little bit more powerful because the move powers and things like that are updated to Generation 9. Next up for me is a Hypno, and it's time to turn up the volume and bring in Dolby, the sound system, and just start creating an uproar. Makahita can't take the volume either and quickly faints to the uproar. And here comes the problem with uproar. Two Pokemon down and we haven't even reached the second gym yet. So we do the only thing that seems logical here and just bring in Shenron to fire off some ancient power. And with Alakazam down, that is May defeated for a second time, but at the cost of Dolby. And here he is joining Kecleon in the graveyard. We go see Mr. Briney, who gives us a lift out of gratitude for saving Pico his Wingull. This leads us to be able to drop off our letter for Stephen, but also take on the second gym leader Brawly. But first things first, we grab a fishing rod and catch Blep the seal. And another slick. Let's see how long this one lasts. In the cave, our encounter is a Registeel, and I'm just showing you this because I did spend a good 40 seconds debating whether to run or just chuck a great ball. We decide to chuck the ball, don't get the catch, and it does explode. And I was really hoping there that we didn't lose Shenron. Putting that scare to the back of our minds, we then take on the second gym, which is Brawly, who originally is a fighting type. This time, not so much, because he does lead with a Gulpin. Gulpin easily dispatched by Shenron, but next is a Swinub, and this randomizer seems to keep popping this up, where after I faint a Pokemon, it will immediately bring out something that is strong against what I'm using, but we do keep Shenron out because it does have a 3-level advantage. Swinub dispatched, and Brawly now has a Pidgey, and I feel the randomizer has given this fella the very short end of the stick because Gulpin, Swinub, Pidgey is not great at all. So let's see what he has next. An Executor. That is a lot better than what he has had so far. Executor Fury cut down by Samurai, and coming up next for Brawly to continue his run of having awful Pokemon is a Stantler. Stantler down and Brawly's final Pokemon is a Hitmontop, so finally a fighting type in this fighting type gym, but we've got a very charged up Fury Cut which just one-shots it. Badge 2, and on our way we go. We find Stephen and hand his letter over, and in return he gives us a TM, but it's time to move on and jump back on Mr. Brownie's ship and head towards our third badge. The first thing to do when we get to Slateport is catch Pokemon, which we get Tuskmaster the Spheal, which to me is a great pickup. Team Aqua are up to all kinds of mischief in the museum, and they come to hassle us as we're about to hand over the Devon goods, and this is the first time we meet the boss of Team Aqua, Archie, who gives us some spiel about how flooding the world would be an excellent idea. With the Devon goods handed over, it's time to leave the museum, but before we do, we get interrupted again by this weird stalker fella, and I'm still not sure who he is. If someone in the comments can explain to me who or what he is, because it doesn't make any sense to me at all. Another quick catch for you with Chimera the Glagger. Before we run into May again, who wants another battle, because she hasn't learned her lesson from the first 2 defeats. May's Pokemon haven't got much better because she starts with a Venonat, and we did have Jetly at the front of the party, which makes things nice and straightforward for us. With Venonat out of the way, she switches to a Chinchou, and we take the time here to switch out to Samurai, who obviously has the grass typing, strong against the water, resistant to the electric. With Samurai paralysed and keep hitting himself, we switch out to Shenron just to get it over with, essentially. With the Chinchou down, May sends out a Sudowoodo, and we switch out to Vulcan the Blastoise here because it is just the logical choice. Nice and water type here. And Vulcan gets to stay in because May's next Pokemon is a Nidoqueen. And here's where things get a bit interesting, and there is what potentially might be a glitch. I don't know. One of you guys will have to, again, point this one out to me, because colour change throws a couple of spanners in the works here. So we switch out to Taskmaster, and this is where the problem comes, because Ice Ball gets interrupted mid-hit, as you'll see. Yeah, so what happened there? Because Ice Ball's a multi-hit move, and it got interrupted after one with a double kick. Rest in peace, Taskmaster, you weren't with us long, and you might have been the most creative nickname I've come up with in the 3 videos so far. So with the colour changing Nidoqueen finally out of the way, Vulcan gets to stay in and deal with a Houndoom, which shouldn't be any problem at all for it. With Vulcan poisoned and low on health, Slake finishes the job against the Houndoom, and May's final Pokemon is of course her Makuhita. I'm not gonna lie, I thought we were losing yet another Slick there, but he sees it through and we beat May once again. Taskmaster here joining the graveyard with our other 2 fallen Pokemon. As we arrive at Wattson's gym to obtain our 3rd badge, Wally is outside and his uncle is trying to get him to stop actually taking on the gym just yet, so he decides to battle us instead. A solid start for Samurai with the Whalmer out of the way, and coming up next is a Lapras, so we will keep Samurai in for this one as well. And with an Aaron coming out, it's time for Jetly to have some fun, and he will stay out for at least the next Pokemon after this one as well. Wally has a Metagross. Why is his uncle stopping him going to the gym? Turns out he has a Latios as well. He's definitely ready for this gym, so his uncle has been overly cautious here. And a Taurus. Like, I don't know what his uncle's doing. Like, I know he's trying to protect the sick kids, but he has 3 really good Pokemon here. And the Lapras. Anyway, with Wally beat, his uncle's all, see, I told you, and that creepy stalker guy comes back. So we run into the gym and head straight for Wattson, and it is time to take on him to receive our 3rd badge, and an electric gym leading with a Ninjask. Here we go, the fun of a randomizer. Politoed, however, can be quite a scary Pokemon, especially if it gets a Perish Song off. And there it is, so we need to make sure that Samurai is recalled before that count hits 0. In a very un-Pokemon AI move, Wattson recalls his Politoed before the Perish Song count hits 0. And we lose yet another Slick. 3 games in a row, we've lost our Pidgeotos at quite an early stage. Why can't I keep these things alive? Quickly followed by the 2nd dead Manny. Shenron does Shenron things and dispatches as the primate for us, and the Politoed returns on about 1 HP. A gym leader sending out a gloom is giving me flashbacks to the awful Erica fight back in my Fire Red video where she just paralysed my entire team. And of course Wattson immediately paralyses Jet Li. Wigglytuff with Fairy typing is not a good Pokemon. Wigglytuff without Fairy typing is even worse, so not a bad end to this gym. And with that bite from Vulcan, Wigglytuff goes down and we earn our 3rd gym badge from Wattson. 2 more Pokemon down. That is now 5 losses in 3 gyms. And here we are depositing Slick and Manny in the graveyard with the rest of them. And we then decide who we want to bring out. As you can see our choices there. We go with Blep and we go with Chimera. And welcome Bruce the Sharpedo to the squad as well. And Gloop the Grimer. This random trainer somehow has a Regirock and blows up and kills both Samurai and Blep, who hasn't been with us very long. But on the next route we catch Samurai 2. 2 more for our death box here. 7 through 3 gyms and counting. Replacing them in the party is the obvious choice of Samurai 2. And we also bring Gloop the Grimer, which does give us 2 poison types on the team, which I don't think I did notice it, but didn't particularly think it'd matter. Lord Poseidon, God of the Sea, joins the team, followed by Hydra the Doduo. Meteor Falls, where we run into Team Magma for the first time, and all they're doing is just arguing with Team Aqua about, ooh, the sea, ooh, the land. Archie comes over and basically calls us a weird kid for not being part of either Magma or Aqua and interfering with them. He also makes the incredibly bold claim that Team Magma are fanatics, forgetting that Team Aqua themselves want to flood the world. And not beating the claims that he's an absolute idiot, he tells us they're going to Mount Chimney, where Team Magma will also be, so it's a 2-for-1 situation for us. And fighting a random grunt, this happens. And here's Maxie, the leader of Team Magma. An even bigger idiot, even bigger nerd than Archie. Although just listening to it back in editing, that bass line for his theme absolutely slaps and goes hard. Here's where I find out Samurai 2 has Truant. So far so good against Maxie. Let's see if this can continue against the Lombre. And we finally get the Omni boost from Ancient Power. But because Maxie is a child, he kills his Hoenn with a curse, just to make us switch out from Shenron because his next Pokemon is a Salamence. Maxie has a Salamence. And the first fight against Maxie goes nice and smoothly without us losing a single Pokemon. And here comes that idiot Archie to congratulate us on beating Maxie, because he thinks I did it for them, I guess. Chimera joins the death box. We hatch an egg containing Sean the Mareep. And now it's time for Flannery, who's a brand new gym leader, so she isn't sure how to introduce herself to us. And she leads with a wheezing, so I bet you can all see what's about to happen, considering what's gone on 3 or 4 times already this video. Yep, Sean was with us for that little amount of time, but at least it wasn't an explosion this time, I guess. I'm guessing Lapras doesn't have any ice moves at this point, because this could have been a very dumb move from me by bringing Shenron in against a part ice type. And there's the Perish song, which I think confirms no ice type move because the AI would have used it by now. And here's a surprise, Flannery has Lugia, because why not? A very close call for Jet Li there, so we quickly get him out of the situation. Shenron sees off Lugia, which is a mighty battle for a gym, followed by a Swallow of all things. And much like Maxie, Flannery also has a Salamence. Lugia, Salamence, Deoxys. Really? Flannery down, and that is our 4th badge, but we did lose another Pokemon with Sean being on the team for all of 30 seconds. And there she is joining the death box, which is growing very, very quickly. Our incredible luck with the randomizer continues though, as we run into a Moltres, so welcome to the team Rubber Chicken, just in time for the fight against Dad. And this is the almost run end that you saw in the intro to this video, it is absolutely awful despite it starting fairly smoothly. But I've got a little goal for you all for this video. If possible, could we get to at least 10 subscribers off the back of this video? I would greatly appreciate it if you guys could make that happen. Anyway, back to the gym battle. As you can see, we've got Jet Li against a Taurus, which is going fairly okay because we just got double kicked super effective. If Jet Li wasn't so low on health, it would be the easiest stay-in we could come up with, but with him being so low, it is time to switch things up. Just a quick speed up to get through the hypnosis here because it does get a little bit long. The problem now we have is the press for emergency Shenron button is running low on health. Mega Drain and a Blastoise, have you done that, I hear you all say? Turns out there was a move tutor and Vulcan was the only Pokemon that was able to actually learn it. You've got to love randomizers when it throws things up like that for you. And here's where the disaster starts. See you, Samurai 2. Our low on health Shenron sees off the wheezing. And here comes the intro moment. This Ninetales runs absolute roughshod our team with 2 poisoned, 1 paralysed, and everyone low on health. First to go is Vulcan, and at this point I'm thinking this is going to be a complete wipe just looking at the state of the rest of our party. There goes Goop. Quickly followed by the loss of Jet Li. And there goes Mario. Before Shenron outspeeds and gets the victory. 5 gym badges down, and we need to completely rebuild our team with only Shenron remaining. So here is everyone joining the death box. Bouquet, Rubber Chicken, and Bruce join the team. We meet Steven again, just randomly in the middle of the road. Before catching Snow Queen the Snow Runt. Team Aqua are up to no good again, this time at the Weather Institute, so we dispatch of them, and as a reward, we are given a Doug Trio, not a cast form as it says on screen. May's back, so guess what? It's time for another fight, and I believe this time she's got some even more ridiculous Pokemon than what she's had in the past. May has a samurai of her own, just to remind us that we've lost 2 of them so far this run, and hers has Arena Trap, which is awful news for Bruce. And there it is, fire up the counter. So we bring in who we intended to switch to in the first place and bring out Rubber Chicken for his first bit of action on the video. Thankfully, Donphan doesn't have Shadow Tag, so we get to bring Bouquet onto screen as well. With the Doug Trio down, we're just down to Sneasel and May's starter, so this should be fairly straightforward from here on out. I've also really got to stop bringing Shenron in against ice types. And because in these videos I'm apparently cursed to kill all avian Pokemon that are in my team, say goodbye to Hydra. With me defeated, another Pokemon joins the Box of Shame. And Creepy Stalker Guy's back just to rub salt in the wounds. Welcome Poseidon and Dominic to the team. And Stephen gives us the Devon Scope, which allows us to bring back Axel from Heart Gold. And we move on to Winona, who doesn't have her signature Altaria. Rubber Chicken sees as much use as Shenron from here on out, because having two legendaries on the team is pretty good if you'd ask me. So far so good in gym number 6. And there we have it, Winona defeated, giving us our 6th badge. Here's Ultra Kite the Shelgon. And we're trying to do a bit of shopping and May challenges us to a fight, just so she can show off her new Deoxys. A nice critical super effective crunch sees off the Deoxys. And with Hariyama down, that is a victory against May without any losses. We head back to Mt Pyre, and at the top of it we discover Team Aqua and Team Magma have stolen the red and blue orbs, and we need to stop them before they free Groudon and Kyogre. And of course, because both Maxie and Archie are complete idiots, they don't know what the orbs actually do, and once the blue orb is activated, Groudon runs away. Which of course in Max's head means he has to fight me, because, you know, take your anger out on other people, I guess. Just watching this back in editing, and I'm confused as to why I waited 3 turns before switching out to Rubber Chicken, because with the fire type moves, Skarmory shouldn't take too long at all. And coming up next after the Skarmory is a Scissor, so obviously Rubber Chicken will stay in. Scissor was always going to get one shot against a fire move, but obviously with the 4 times weakness there. And with the what could have been a quite scary Snorlax down, we can relax a bit because block could have been a disaster there with Shenron out on the field. When I saw Ice Punch come up on screen, I did think Shenron was dead there, so I'm very glad that he held on with 27 HP. I think in hindsight I would have gone to Rubber Chicken here, but at the time I was a bit concerned with it being low on health, which makes this Sunflora battle go on far longer than what it needed to do. So that's Maxie defeated, and of course he admits that he didn't actually know what the blue orb was going to do. Good research there, bro. Archie, or idiot number 2, actually has a fairly decent idea and steals a submarine. But because Archie shares 6 brain cells with Maxie, he decides to announce on a megaphone what they're doing while stood next to the submarine instead of just, you know, taking it so nobody knows that it was them that actually did it. This grunt lets us know where Archie's gone and what he's doing, so that's nice of him. But let's move on to Tate and Liza first. This is the first double battle gym in Pokemon games, and with a full team of 6, this is an incredibly difficult gym. The randomizer giving them Wailord and Victory Bell is a great start for them as well because it cancels out each other's weaknesses. I can't really keep Rubber Chickening too long against the Wailord, but with Rayquaza next to it I was hoping this was going to be fairly smooth, but that burn there doesn't help us at all because it halves Rayquaza's attack. And for us to go with Wailord is also a great pairing because it prevents any use of a ground-type Pokemon if one was there. Ancient Power doing so little damage here was very, very concerning. Time to withdraw Shenron because he's not doing a lot of damage due to the burn, but with Bouquet also paralysed, we can see what Tate and Liza's plan here is. Normally when something gets full parried 2 turns in a row, you'd be a bit more inclined to withdraw it, but I was absolutely adamant of getting this Leech Seed off no matter what. Two incredibly bulky Pokemon on the field does slow things down dramatically, especially with us being unwilling to use Shenron at this moment in time and Rubber Chicken not being much use with Wailord on the field. Another gym where they're absolutely determined to stay as condition every single Pokemon in my party sees Snow Queen become the latest victim of paralysis. And this is the point where we hit the in case of emergency press for Shenron button. Hyper Potion on Wailord is the last thing we wanted to see at this moment in time. A fully paralysed Ampharos there, avoiding a Razor Leaf which would have killed it, which is highly frustrating. Speaking of frustrating, how about Wailord using Rest when it was in killing range? And as the Ampharos finally goes down, we can move on to the next Pokemon, which is an Ariados, which does start to make things easier because that's a big drop in quality from what they've used so far. And with Wailord out of the battle, we can switch to Rubber Chicken, which should see the Ariados gone very, very quickly. And here comes Wailord again, because Tate and Liza have got a shed full of Pokemon, not 3 each. And I don't have any calcs or anything up, but I do believe that crit mattered. But of course Wailord has Poison Point, because you can see it's covered in spikes, obviously. And here we say bye to Bouquet, cue up the bell. At this point, it's nearly impossible for me to not lose a Pokemon in a gym battle, but this one has been, like I said at the start, a very, very tough gym. We get Rubber Chicken out of there just in case, to avoid any further avian deaths, as we know I'm very big on losing those. I thought Poseidon was dead there too, with a pixel of HP remaining. And there we go, with the Taurus down, we finally beat Tate and Liza and pick up our 7th gym badge. One more to go. As Bouquet joins the death box, which is getting very full now. Another double battle now as I team up with Steven to take on Maxie and an admin. Also, why does Maxie think it's a good idea to force a volcano to erupt? Like I said, him and Archie, 6 brain cells between them. Dustox being randomised to have drought is objectively really funny though. And this fight brings us some Shenron on Shenron violence. And with Gyarados down, that is a big threat off the table, although its water moves wouldn't have been doing much due to drought, and Murkrow is a big downgrade there. Ignoring that Hitmonchan has Ice Punch once again, I just attack straight into it with Shenron. Although that does look like one of the times where the AI sees a guaranteed kill on the Aggron, so it went for that instead of Ice Punching Shenron. Why does Steven's Arcanine have Thunder, by the way? That's strange to say the least, especially when he tried using it on a Gligar. Another double battle out of the way, and I think this one was the first time I've had a clean one, what with the exploding Regirock and then the Tate and Liza battle. Maxie realises that if they can't control Groudon, Aqua's probably not going to be able to control Kyogre, and this is going to head for disaster. Good on him to finally catch up, shame it took him most of the game to realise that. Speaking of Archie, here comes the Randy Savage looking guy. We're about to lose Ultra Cat here as well to a waterfall, which is of course a critical hit, just like a lot of the deaths we've had in this run so far. Tyranitar, I guess Archie's auditioning to join Team Magma now. I don't think that crit would have mattered, but if you disagree, comment below and let me know. And it's time to pray for no explosions. That could definitely matter, and it means we avoid any explosions from the Registeel, meaning Rubber Chicken gets to survive one more fight. And with Togetic down, that is Archie defeated, and we should be done with Aqua and Magma from now on, because Kyogre is also just going to swim away, because, shock horror, Archie can't control it. And here's the difference between Maxie and Archie. Maxie realised the error. Archie's all, no, that's impossible. I'm right. So does Maxie have a face turn after realising the error of his way here? And now, after spending all game trying to stop us, Max and Archie are asking us to help them undo the absolute idiocy that they've caused. And here comes Steven, because he's wondering why the hell it is raining so much. It's a good job there's this rock in the middle of the sea for Groudon to stand on for this fight he's having with Kyogre though. Ultra Kate joins the death box. And Daisy the Machop joins us from the death box back in Johto. Wallace, the former final gym leader, is asking us to continue our work of saving the world, because that's what you entrust to children, you don't do it yourself. So we head to go find Rayquaza, and not the one that's stuck in a Pokeball in my pocket. Rayquaza finds out what happens and flies off as if to scold Kyogre and Groudon like naughty school children. And I've left this cutscene in because it reminds me of a Power Rangers game I used to play on the Sega when I was a kid. It's pretty much identical graphically. If you play this music on an organ and added in a bit of a choir, it would sound almost like boss music from a Dark Souls game. And just like that, Rayquaza does his job and sends Groudon and Kyogre back off to sleep without any supper, and we head on to the 8th gym to take on Juan. But not before one final moment of reflection from Maxie and Archie, who realise the error in their ways and head off to do God knows what, because apparently there's no police in the Hoenn region to take them away. And here's Juan, the 8th and final gym leader. Let's see how this one goes. The mechanic of the Pokemon keeping going and crashing into a wall if high jump kick misses is incredibly funny. Like, it's one of the best mechanics in the game just for the sheer ridiculousness of it. So far so good, having no problems in this gym, and here comes the 5th Pokemon of Juan, which is just a Kecleon, so we should keep up the good run so far. And one final Pokemon left for Juan, and it turns out he has Latias after we saw Latios earlier in the game. I thought we'd had another bird get killed there, but Rubber Chicken holds on with barely any HP. Joel the Parasite here is an absolute beast and holds on just 1 HP. Dominic likewise holds on 2 HP and gets off the final slash to win our final gym badge, so it's time to head towards the Pokemon League. In Victory Road, we get approached by Wally, who wants to fight us for one last time. The most obvious switching you'll ever see there to bring in Dugtrio against the Jolteon. Likewise, going to Rubber Chicken against a Venomoth makes sense, and upcoming we have Poseidon against a Sandslash, and back to Rubber Chicken against a Mawile and a Scissor, so all changes that make a lot of sense. And with Hitmontop about to fall, we can continue in Victory Road. And I will just let you know, I did get lost in Victory Road, so I pressed pause on the recording and apparently didn't set it to start again. So I did miss my final encounter, which was with Rock Smash, and we got a Groudon, which we just threw a Master Ball at. So I'd like you to welcome to the team Aries, the Groudon. And here he is coming out of a box to join the team in place of Dominic. We also replace Joel with Daisy, and we level up the Machop and the Groudon before heading into the Elite Four themselves, as we get permission to join because they double check that we do indeed have the 8 badges. And here's Sydney, who is normally a Dark type trainer, but of course with a randomizer we'll never know what we get here. The first couple of trainers in the Elite Four are very easy because, as you can see, there is a big level difference because I went with level cap to the level of the champion. Daisy sees off the Whiscash, and that is the first Pokemon in the Elite Four down. And here comes a Groudon, because apparently there's at least 3 of them that exist in this universe at this point. But just like that, Aries is no problem for Poseidon. Manectric was never surviving an earthquake from a Groudon there, and Sydney is halfway done, and there's not going to be too much longer left in this fight, because as you can see, Flareon once again does not stand up to an earthquake from Aries. And neither does Magma. This is an absolute death gauntlet for Sydney, just sending out death fodder after death fodder against Groudon's super powerful earthquake. And that is Sydney defeated the first member down, and no losses, so always a good start to the proceedings. And here comes Phoebe, who, based on her dress, do we think she's from the Alola region? I will say having 3 legendaries on the team for the Elite Four is absolutely amazing and is only something you generally get with a randomizer. It took me a little while there to decide who to bring in, because in the back of my mind I was thinking, what if they use Guillotine? And with just a Ditto remaining, we take down Phoebe without actually taking a single HP of damage, which I've never done before in the Elite Four in the near 30 years I've been playing Pokemon. At this point, I'm going into the third battle thinking, wow, this is the easiest the Pokemon League has been, and I'm getting a little bit too far ahead of myself thinking that it's going to be just an absolute cakewalk. A Raikou, because sure, I mean it is the Pokemon League, so the best Pokemon should be here, but I wasn't expecting to see Raikou. And who do you follow up a Raikou with in your party? Why, of course, Kyogre. Those of you that are thinking ahead, I bet you can see what move Kyogre is going to use here that I, to be completely honest with you, didn't see coming. It would have been nice if that crit did 2 HP more damage though, because it would have prevented us from seeing this happen to our starter. Yep, Ice Beam. For some reason I didn't think that it was coming, even though I have at least one Kyogre in my Pokemon home box that knows the same move. So for the second straight game, we do lose our starter in the Elite Four run, and Groudon takes out its revenge on the Kyogre there for us. Daisy takes down the Wailord with a mighty Cross Chop, and coming up next is a Tyranitar, so we stay in because Cross Chop should do the work again for us. And just as I expected, Cross Chop does the work on the Tyranitar, leaving Glacier with another Tyranitar. Here I didn't realise that when you run out of PP in this game, it uses Struggle instead of just letting you select another move. And there goes Daisy. Poseidon finishes the job, which has us 3/4 of the way through the Elite Four, but Glacier must have seen how smugly we walked into her room as she takes our start Shenron and Daisy with her in this fight. Time to head to Drake, down to just 4 remaining Pokemon. One down, 5 to go, and Drake, who's normally a dragon type member of the Elite Four, does actually bring a dragon with him. And now we're back on even terms, it's a 4v4. good switch out by Drake there. It's not something you see the AI do all too often, but we just switch into Aries because what better counter to a Magma than Groudon? And that mistake left me thinking I was going to lose Aries as well as Shenron there. So just one Pokemon left with the nearly dead Pidgeot. And with that critical hit, we beat Drake, and that is the Elite Four over, and just one fight left as we head to the champion. So did Wallace, a gym leader, just take on the Elite Four and beat them to become the champion, or did he get elected to the position? A strong start by the champ, bringing out one of the legendary birds. What I did notice is there's a lot of critical hits in this game, like every battle seems to have at least one of them. So far we're finding Wallace much easier than what we did Glacier. I decided to play things safe there and not risk Groudon against a Primeape. Back-to-back fighting types means Rubber Chicken stays in and just flies again. Three fighting types in a row for the champion, and we get through the Elite Four and we defeat Wallace, losing 2 Pokemon in the process to become 3-time champions. And here comes May to give us some advice on the champion. Oh wait, that's us. So as we head to the Hall of Fame to enter our 6 party members, we must also remember the other 18 fallen Pokemon along with the 2 that are currently sat in our party as well. And what a team we had here with Aries the Groudon, Rubber Chicken the Moltres, Poseidon the Kingdra, Ice Queen the Glalie, Daisy the Machamp, and of course Shenron the Rayquaza, our starter. And that concludes our 3rd Nuzlocke. Adding the randomizer element to it this time made it a lot of fun, especially with Rayquaza as the starter. I might have had a different opinion if it gave me options of like Silcoon, Kakuna and Cascoon to start with, for example. But we'll be back next time with Platinum to continue the run through the series, and that will also be randomised.